everyone. Welcome to the Felicity, Optimist versus Cynic podcast with us, your hosts, Melissa and Fish. This is a Felicity rewatch podcast. We'll watch an episode each week and join you here to talk about it. Just a quick reminder, the reminder we always give, this is not a spoiler-free podcast. So there may be some things we mention that come up in later episodes of the show, especially with an episode like this. We're setting up for a lot of stuff. So just beware. Having said that, I'm Melissa, and I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Fish. Fish, how are you doing today?
I am good today. It is 90 degrees outside and sunny, and I am very happy to be inside where there's air conditioning.
Fantastic. Well, we are both excited because we are talking about season 1, episode 16. This one was called The Fugue. Originally aired March 2nd, 1999, directed by Lawrence Trilling. And there was a co-writing team here. It was J.J. Abrams and Ed Redlich, if that's how you pronounce his name. The summary was, Noel is confused about his feelings for his ex when they reconnect after a kiss. Also, an art student who admires Felicity's work invites her to the studio, and Julie clashes with Ben's new friends from the swim team. Okay, Fish, let's dive in. Where do you want to start today?
Yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up.
We did it! Podcast over! Yay!
Yay, we're done. So I guess I'll start with the title, The Fugue. I was not familiar with this being something in music. I only knew the sort of psychiatric definition of fugue, so I was very confused because you always hear of people in a fugue, like going out and murdering people. I was like, how is this going to be part of Felicity? So the psychiatric definition is kind of like you're out of yourself, like you don't know that you're yourself, you're kind of sleepwalking around, you don't remember what's going on. That's sort of a state of fugue. And I don't know if they were also trying to play with that or not, but maybe we can look at that. But I had to look up the definition for music. So I will just say this for those who are not familiar. So it's a piece with 2 or more independent melodic lines in which a short melody, which is called the subject, is introduced by one part and successfully taken up by the other part or other parts and developed by interweaving them.
Oh, it's funny that you say this because so I didn't look up fugue, but I did look up contrapuntal, and that definition is very similar. It says with 2 or more independent melodic lines.
Right, and a fugue is a contrapuntal piece in which those 2 lines have this short melody, the subject introduced in one part, and then successively take that subject through the other parts and develop it. And so what I saw as the fugue was, it was introduced with Noel and Felicity, this idea of sex and love and relationships, and what do these things mean together. And then you get these shots back and forth, sort of the 2 independent melodic lines of Noel and Hanna and Felicity and Eli, and they develop these themes differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I thought they were trying to do at the end. I mean, they did a whole bunch of stuff first, but at the end of the episode, when we're actually listening to the fugue, which I thought sounded kind of weird, but eventually I got that it was supposed to be the fugue. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they were trying to do, but yeah, I could be completely off.
Well, thank you for the definitions. The more you know.
I know.
So we did that. It's interesting because I actually thought of their approach to it a little differently. you saw it coming from the angle of Felicity and Noel and love and sex and all of that. And then we get the two different voices. I saw this, the first entry into this being Hanna. So, I mean, the first thing that we see at the start of the episode is Felicity in a Dean and DeLuca meeting it's a staff meeting with the new manager. Hanna walks in. And so right away, the life everybody had as they knew it is going to be disrupted by this whirlwind of a woman who's come in, Hanna. There's going to be a change. And for me, Hanna is the one who sets this in motion. She is the one who is the bringer of music and basically the bringer of this theme. And
what is the theme?
Well, I would say that love and sex is it, but do I necessarily think that Felicity and Noel are? I think that they are. They're both. It's their relationship with each other, but it's equally their relationship with these other people that's important here. And I saw it being initiated by Hanna coming in. So yeah. I guess it just sort of depends on what you think the central bringer of the theme actually is here. But I do agree that at the end, so I think the music that we were hearing was more it's more Felicity theme music. There's a lot of different songs that you'll hear underpinning Felicity that's scored directly for the show. And I think what we were hearing in the background at the end when those scenes were going back and forth between what Hanna and Noel were doing and what Eli and Felicity were doing, that I think is more Felicity music, not necessarily it's music that sounded very familiar to the show for me. So I really saw it as the contrapuntal part of this is the point is we're just going to go back and forth between these two stories, and Noel and Felicity is almost the bridge, but it's those two different stories that we're really tracking here.
Yeah.
Maybe a musical person who listens can
help
unpack
us out.
this for us a little bit more, because we're obviously the structure of this is really important, right? Because I don't think we've ever seen a structure quite like this at the show, have we, Fish?
I don't think so. I mean, if they're trying to introduce the structure around this musical composition, and, maybe they do it perfectly, maybe they don't, right? So that's another piece of this. But I guess if we consider the subject as like sex, love, and relationships and their roles, how they interact, it's not, to me, that isn't brought up until the moment Felicity says, like, thank God I didn't have sex with you. And so that's where I see that being introduced. That's the actual subject, where she talks about, do you love her? Like, thank God I didn't have sex for you, and what it's like for the relationship. And then we see it developed by sort of these two other relationships.
Well, love is brought up before that. So in the, I guess you would say, argument that Felicity and Noel are having, and she says, well, you were going to walk out if I hadn't seen you two. That is definitely where she brings up the part where, glad I didn't have sex with you. But before that, there's a scene where Felicity walks in on Noel as he is listening to Hanna's tape and looking at pictures of her.
Yeah.
And she says, she's trying to get to the root of what Noel is really thinking here. And she asks him point blank, do you still love Hanna? And even in that conversation, he's saying, well, you don't just, you don't just stop feeling things for somebody. Like, she's like, yeah, I get it. But do you still love her? And so she's really trying to cut through it. But already you're seeing him be torn between one scenario versus the other scenario.
Yeah. And I would say again, that is the introduction of this subject between Noel and Felicity. So there's sort of that first melodic line that introduces it.
Yeah.
And then
and I think they're really setting it up. The beginning of the episode sets us up for that to be the story.
Yeah. So maybe because this is just really complicated, maybe we should just kind of go back to the beginning and follow it through this from when Hanna comes in, and then we can get to what happens at the end, and then we can come back and look at some of the other fun things that kind of happened with some of the other characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, to preface all of that, that something I love about this episode feels to me, knowing what's ahead and having just sort of scanned through the descriptions and titles of some of the episodes that are coming up. This season goes 22 episodes. We're at episode 16 right now. And for me, the back part of this season is stacked. From this episode onward, all the way to the end, we are going to be at a quick pace. They've got the story on track in a direction they're ready to unfold it in. And, you know, some of the episodes that we've come across to this point, there have been a few like, ooh, is this an outlier? Should we have switched episodes? Like we said with the last one. Should we switch the order? Where does this one fit in the big picture? For me, I'm not sure that any of the things coming up have that same conversation to be had. Maybe something will come up as we unpack it. But I think the Fugue starts the march toward the finish of this season. And so it makes me really excited to start talking about this, because I feel like everything has its place moving forward. But this, so when we look at this episode in particular, there are actually, even though we're looking at this contrapuntal voices and we see these two particular story threads that we're going to talk about a lot here, there's actually a lot of stuff happening with other storylines, even just in a small way, and even with this one, with these stories that we're going to look at with these major melodies, we are going to see the ripple effects of this for a long time to come. And it really is cemented in this episode.
Yeah. And since I have no idea what's going to come, I'm going to say things that may be completely wrong. And for those of you that know what's going on, and Melissa, you can just kind of giggle. Because
I wonder though, because there have been times when they've hinted to things more subtly and you've picked up on it and it was really obvious to you. And in this one, it's like a hammer over the head. So it'll be interesting to see where you land and what you think is coming up, because I don't know how we could possibly talk about this without asking ourselves what's to come, with all the relationships involved. So let's just see what happens with it. But, we understand the caveat. You may or may not remember what's coming up. And so we'll see how close or far off the mark some of your guesses are. But I think in the act of trying to look at what's happening with these relationships, we're naturally going to be asking what might happen. And yeah, we'll just see where we land.
Yeah, I thought some of the dialogue in this episode was really good and really on point. So we've got Hanna moving to New York.
Yeah.
Because she's going to this conservatory. And she walks into Dean and DeLuca and sees Felicity. And, she kind of, Felicity says, "Hey, what's up? Why are you here?"
Interesting that you're in a Dean and DeLuca staff meeting.
Right. And like, does Noel know you're here? And she says he doesn't. And we find out she's already been there for months. And Felicity has sort of this this great timing where Hanna says, "So how are you doing?" And she says, "I'm doing great. We're doing great." Like
Mm-hmm.
very pointedly says that.
Yeah.
So
Which
that
I
she's
thought was
kind of,
a distinct line to say, because I don't know in the Thanksgiving episode that it was ever overtly said, I am the person, Felicity saying, I am the person that Noel has been thinking about seeing or actually seeing. That wasn't said directly. Maybe Hanna knew. She probably had an inclination that Felicity was the other woman in this situation, but it wasn't said.
I
So
think she
here,
did say
Felicity is
it.
just like, we're in a relationship, woman.
Yes.
Like, my flag is planted in case you
Yeah.
weren't sure. This is my flag. It's in the ground.
And I think Hanna did say that she picked up on it, but I think she only said it to Noel when she was talking about the guy that she was seeing. Um, I just, I'm not
Well, in that
100% sure.
conversation, she said to Noel, do I know her? Or have I met
Yeah,
her? Or something like that. So,
I think
but
it
then
was
she said, I
later.
don't want to know. I don't want to know. There was a scene in the Thanksgiving episode between Hanna and Felicity in the bathroom where Hannah's crying. Felicity gives her a whole roll of toilet paper to deal with it. And Hanna just looks at Felicity and says, he's a really good guy. And Felicity's
Yeah,
like,
maybe
yeah, I
that's where I was
know.
picking up
That's
on.
to me where I saw the subtext. It wasn't said overtly, but when you look at that exchange, those two actors did it so well that I thought Hanna knows.
Yeah, I definitely got the impression that Hanna knows and that whoever she was communicating to, whether it was Noel or Felicity, that person picked up on the fact that she knew.
Mm-hmm.
But so as we go through this, I don't know if this was done overtly or not. I think some of it probably was, but there are a few things that I just noticed. The first was the color purple,
Oh,
because Felicity and Hanna both wear a lot of purple.
interesting.
Um, yeah, and I think it may just have to do with their coloring. They both look good in purple, and there are very distinct points in time where their hair is down or their hair is up, or Hanna has her glasses on or she doesn't. And like what is happening with Noel at those points in time? I feel like they were very specifically trying to make either Hanna or Felicity look good or not necessarily look good, when Noel was having different types of feelings for them. So I
Wow.
thought that was very weird.
This is why we need you here, Fish, because do you know what percentage of my notes was about their appearance?
0?
0%.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. You're like purple and hair up and hair down and glasses. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. But I think it may have, I feel like maybe it was subtly meant. You just sort of look at one or the other. I mean, Hanna was much more attractive in this episode than in the first one.
Mhm.
Did that come across at all?
It did. I mean, I think she's a beautiful woman anyway.
Yeah, but
And
she
she
had
doesn't need
makeup
to
on.
get
She
all
had her
fancy
hair
to please a
down.
man.
She had
Um,
like this really beautiful purple color on. I mean, they kind of went out of their way as opposed, well, I think they went out of their way in the previous episode to put her hair up and the glasses on and like no makeup and wash her out so that maybe they were also doing it because they were trying to do the plain Jane thing with Felicity and they
mhm.
didn't want it to be too much of a competition
That could be.
because
Or
Felicity is
maybe showing
also
that Noel is attracted to women
a
who,
certain type.
yeah,
Yeah.
it could be that. I wouldn't say that I thought of either of the two of them as being especially glamorous in this episode. So,
They were definitely looking better.
okay. Because they were trying to get his attention. They were competing. They were more directly competing here.
I think that was part of it. And there were moments where they were competing and there were moments where they were not. So
Mm-hmm.
so when we see Felicity coming home from Dean and DeLuca and back to the dorm and going into Noel's room, and of course he's holding the whole entire phone and walking about his room. And Hannah's on the phone and Felicity's wearing this really pretty purple sweater that we've seen in several episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Noel very, again, pointedly says something like, the girl I dated for 2 years has been living down the street,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even give her a name at this point in time. And the shift from him calling her the girl to what we see at the end of this episode, I think is, I don't know, it's pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed was a lot of the time between Felicity and Noel, everything is a question. There's so many
Yeah.
questions.
Well, yeah, so many things I want to say right now. One thing, I want to thank everybody who wrote this episode for making sure that it was clear that Noel did not know that Hanna was there.
Yeah.
Had he known,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I ever would have come back from that with Noel.
Well, if he had known and not told Felicity and never seen her, or if he'd known and been hanging out with
If
her.
he had known and that was a thing.
Like he'd been seeing her and not told and not and had
Yeah,
not
in
told
any
Felicity.
capacity, like if even if it was like, oh, we went out for coffee once, like
Yeah,
I
no.
just feel like that's a thing Felicity should have known as the girlfriend. So and for him to have gone all in on this relationship with Felicity, but actually not, just would have been a bridge way too far for me. Even as it is, you can say don't love what Noel's doing here, but they're having honest conversations about how confused he is. And this is a bomb that got dropped on him. So I'm giving him a little leeway. I don't love what he's doing, but he is trying to figure out what the right path is for him. It's not, if you're rooting for Felicity in this situation, it hurts. It's hard. It's hard to watch. But there's no saying that Hanna isn't the person he's meant to be with. Like he's sorting this out. But if he had known that she was there, that would have been way too much for me. So I'm glad that they made it as clear as they did. They did not want that confusion in this episode. Your point about the questions, one of the things that I have in my notes in a big box highlighted is the word mirroring. Felicity does a lot of that in this episode. She is constantly repeating his statements and questions back to him. And it happens in a couple conversations. It happens in this one where he's saying, I don't know, is it weird? She's like, is it weird? Just like this, I'm going to repeat what you said back to you as a question and make you clarify it for me. It is a technique that people use to gather information and to have sort of an empathetic listening as they negotiate or as they have a conversation. So if you're looking for examples of mirroring, there is a lot of that until Felicity and Noel break through that and have the fight where she's like, nope, you were going to leave. She stops her mirroring and she's like, I get you now. Like, I don't need more mirroring. I don't need you to tell me more stuff. I already see what's happening here. But yeah, the mirroring is all those questions.
Yeah, and I don't feel like she was doing it intentionally, like as a technique, but I feel like she was just trying to clarify. And, he's, this bomb has been dropped on both of them. And she is coming to tell him about it. And Hanna has preempted that. I mean, if anyone is calculating in this, it's Hanna, right? So she's dropped this bomb and now she's preempted Felicity telling him. And Felicity walks in on that. And, there's just him trying to sort it out, saying, And do you have a problem with this? And her saying, should I have a problem with this? And
Hmm.
is it weird? And is it weird? And then he says again, is it weird? No. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. She doesn't know what she's doing. They're all just trying to figure it out, I think, at
Yeah,
that point.
I agree. But I also agree with your point that I think Hanna knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, yeah.
She comes off sweet enough, but she came here on a mission. And look, this was her boyfriend. This is her story. If you spin the lens to in another direction, you could be rooting for Hanna, but we're not, because this is the show Felicity, and we've been getting to know this character Felicity. But on the other side of this, Noel never stopped having feelings for Hanna. Hanna has been a presence, even if we haven't seen it, in so many important moments in the relationship with Felicity. So, and there she's been pining away from him for him, just, blocks away for months now. And she knows what she wants, and she's taking steps to find out if it's still available to her. We may not love it. Maybe some of you do. Maybe some people listening and do. I don't know. Maybe there were some people out there who were like, Hanna. I mean, probably the people who were really into Ben and Felicity were kind of okay with Hanna being a figure. But I do think she knows what she's up to here.
Yeah. And I don't know how long it has been that Felicity and Noel have been dating. I mean, to me, it seems like this relationship was really short. And then
Yeah.
she comes back and like nips it in the bud, and like, you know, they had dated for years. And I think we'll get to it a little later, but she's got some lines around when she kisses him that talk about, this was our future,
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what we had planned, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world to kiss you.
Yeah.
Because
And they
we
have all
spent
these
years.
stories, when they're at Epstein Bar with Julie and Felicity and Hanna and Noel, and Hannah's kind of flexing. They're talking about the subway, and then she starts bringing up a story about a software store. And
Yeah.
it's this whole anecdote. And Felicity and Noel just haven't had that much time. Like you said, I mean, they did have the first semester to start to get to know each other, but they didn't actually say, we are boyfriend and girlfriend, until after they came back from the holiday break. So there's more semester to go here. So they could be, what could they be, halfway through the semester right now? I mean, we're talking a matter of a couple, 2-3 short months is my guess on where we are in
I
terms of
feel
a
like it's
timeline.
less than that.
Could be.
I mean, she's still kind of looking at the studio, and with the possibility of maybe moving into one of those courses if there was still room in the course, which means there's enough of that semester left that she could have transferred into a class if
Yeah.
there had been space.
Yeah. So this is
So
brand new.
this seems
And
a month or less.
yeah. And
Maybe
Hanna
2 weeks.
and Noel have a history that, granted, we didn't get to see it. But when they have given us time with Hanna and Noel, they have gone above and beyond to try to give us, hey, remember that time? Like there have been a lot of these, we've got a lot of stories, sort of moments that they have tried to slip in to this point, and they're doing it in this episode too. And I think it's to really plant in our minds, these two were an established relationship, and Felicity and Noel are very new.
Yeah, the pieces where I feel that the most are in the way that they touch each other. That
Mm-hmm.
Hanna reaches out at the bar and feels so comfortable and familiar with him to reach out and touch his arm
Mm-hmm.
in a way that Noel and Felicity are not comfortable with, because they're also super awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And she's able to do it. She again has that sense of things being right when she kisses him, when towards the end she's playing music and her hair starts up and then it starts to fall down as
Mhm.
she continues to play, and the scenes go back and forth, and Noel walks over and kind of sweeps the rest of her hair out and kisses her on the top of the head. I mean, these are very intimate ways that you learn to touch people when you've been together.
And this is the type of thing that I was thinking of way back in Boggled when you were like, is that the best first kiss ever? And I was like, thinking about stuff like this. Noel kisses Hannah in a completely different way than he kisses Felicity. Whatever you think is the better way, I think he's almost with Felicity, he's almost like frantic and frenetic and hungry. And with Hannah in this episode, we're seeing him be more deliberate
Well,
and
he's patient
he's
and he
patient.
knows what he's doing and he knows where to touch her and he knows, I mean, that's not a first kiss.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 years of getting to know somebody and their body.
Yeah. And it just strikes me so differently. There's something about how, I mean, feel free to at me, themelissafish@gmail.com. Look, their romantic scene was far more romantic to me than anything that I've seen from Felicity and Noel, because there wasn't like an urgency at the other end. I almost said a fire because I don't know why that came up, but that was both literal and metaphorical. But I mean, there's just something about them that is more established, that's more comfortable and more intimate and not desperate.
Yeah, but I think what you're picking up on is actually the problem, at
Mm.
least the way that I see it, because what he has for Felicity is passion.
Mm-hmm.
And what he has with Hannah is comfortable and practiced.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he realizes
Yeah.
as he is with her. He's going through the motions.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, they're nice motions,
Mm-hmm.
but
This
it's
is not what
not,
the doctor ordered.
yeah, there's no passion, there's no fire, there's no, I need to like grab your curly hair and have you on the rug of your, with your roommate coming in. Like that's not there with
Mm-hmm.
with her.
So for those of you who are ready to at me at the melissafish@gmail.com, maybe you just also say thank you to Fish. I don't know. Maybe
Or
that's how
I
this
mean, you
works.
can you can at me and I don't read the emails, so I mean, really, Melissa will. She
Yeah.
may pass it along, she may not.
It's so funny to me that all these words are coming out of my mouth because I've never thought this way about Hannah ever. And I guess, I don't know, that we're looking at this pretty deeply. And I'm at a different point in my life, I suppose, than the last time I saw this. But yeah, I'm probably supposed to hate Hannah.
I mean, I by no means hate Hannah. I mean, I think, were I in her spot, I'd probably be doing the same thing. And I mean, Noel doesn't know what he's doing. So clearly he wasn't sure if the feelings were there. And Hannah is. And I know we're we're jumping around here, but as we
But
go
we get to
back,
do that. That's our prerogative.
Lisa just wants to say in every episode that it's our podcast
That's it.
and we can do whatever we want.
Yep. That's the
But
kind of power we have.
I wrote down, as they were going back and forth, what you've got in what I called sort of the fugue section is you've got Hannah is really sure and Noel is unsure. You've got Eli who's really sure and Felicity who initially is not sure. You've got, an older couple, you've got a new two people kind of being together. So I can't fault Hannah, who's had this years-long relationship, who tried dating someone else. I mean, she has communicated, with Noel They had a quote open relationship. Then they broke up. They both saw other people. She comes back. She doesn't immediately jump right back into his life, but she does orchestrate this later as she's not sure if he is the love of her life, and or maybe she's become more sure that he's the love of her life. And she wants to see how he feels about her.
And she's also in a confusing place in her life. Noel seems to be the only thing that makes sense. She's moved to a new city. She's going to a new school. She ended a relationship with somebody that she thought could be good, and then turns out not to be such a great guy, whatever that means, right? So there's something there. And that's the version of her that just landed at Felicity and Noel's doorstep. Noel is like the only thing for her that seems familiar and that seems sensible and that seems stable based on where they were. It's the one thing maybe that can be a comfort to her at a time when she's very much figuring herself out. So her being so certain of him in this situation doesn't necessarily mean to me that she's certain in her life, but he's sort of a life raft maybe for her. I don't know. It's hard to know exactly how bad it is in her head right now at this moment in time, but she is as much suspicion and uncertainty and chaos as she's sparking in other people around her. I mean, Felicity now gets to a point where she's spying on them and she doesn't really know what that's like. And Julie's like, you're just being a girlfriend, and she's feeling threatened and jealous, and she doesn't know what to do with these feelings. And Hanna jumps in to get us into this fugue part. She says to Noel, can you help me out like you used to? What a specific way to put that.
Yeah, and I think he picks up on it. And he probably should not have been surprised that she reaches out to kiss him. Mm-hmm. And he takes a second to pull away. I would not say that he didn't kiss her back. I mean, he tells Felicity that he didn't, but I think there was something very normal about that. He's the one who offered to walk her outside. Mm-hmm. I really don't think he should have done that.
Yeah.
But he is falling back into this rhythm with her where they have their banter going on back and forth, and she's reaching out and, touching his arm, and, they're together, alone at the table. He says, I'll be a gentleman. I'll walk you outside. And she says, will you help me like you used to? And then gets in the cab and gives him a kiss. I mean, it's what they used to have. And I would say that I guess I disagree with where Hanna is. I don't think she's completely afloat. I think from the way that they talk to each other later, when Hanna says to him, clearly this was a mistake, but it was the most natural thing. She says, we planned to come here together. We planned this whole future. Mm-hmm. This is what was supposed to happen. This is the most natural thing. If we start dating again, we're right back on track. And, she says she flipped a coin about whether or not to come. Mm-hmm. And she probably did, but I think had it landed on tails,
she might have flipped it again.
Right, exactly.
Like 2 out of 3?
Best 9 out of 10. I just feel like this.
Not a thing.
It's so hard, right?
Yeah.
When you've been dating someone and you have a future planned out, and then it's over, and then whatever you had in the interim is short and doesn't make much sense, and you want that future back, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Fish, I love you. The best 9 out of 10 callback. I just can't. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. So
yeah. Well, and this really shakes Noel up. He is been asked, can we be what we used to be? He gets kissed by Hanna. He has no idea what's going on in his life. He is confused and curious.
And he makes a couple, I think, big mistakes. If he wanted to stay with Felicity, he does a couple of things that he should have talked to Felicity first. The first was walking Hanna out, should not have done that. And the second, I thought when he was putting the tape in that manila envelope, he was going to mail it. Nope. He goes to her apartment where she is wearing a beautiful purple shirt. And it's just, she's got no glasses on, her hair's down, she's being funny, cracking jokes. She's very attractive in that moment. And then has this whole monologue, right, about why she's there and how she's feeling. And
and that she's missing him.
And she's saying, oh, I said I wasn't going to cry, and I'm more together than this, but she's clearly not. And that was the moment where I felt like she got Noel. I feel like that was a manipulative moment because he's a fixer. He always wants to fix things.
Yeah. So he's a terrible RA, but he tries.
Well, he tries with the women in his life.
He sure does.
He can't leave. He has to sit down and listen to her.
Yeah.
Because she's not put together. He's got to help. And he's getting more and more confused.
Meanwhile, the whole way through, we are getting these moments with Noel and Felicity where he's just getting sucked in further and further into the vortex. And Felicity's like, are you getting sucked further into the vortex? It's just, she keeps having these mirroring conversations. He drops the bomb at Dean and DeLuca. Hanna kissed me. She's got a lot of questions. She's trying to keep a level head about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like he's caught her verbal diarrhea. He's just sitting there and she's talking to him. He's like, Hanna kissed me.
Yeah. It's on his mind. And
so it must come out of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I think he should keep it a secret. I'm not sure what I think about this.
Just the way he said it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not even sitting down and she just got yelled at for having an extended social moment.
And it's going to be a little more extended because Noel's going to tell her, hey, I just had a kiss moment with Hanna. And Felicity's got some questions. She tries to keep a relatively calm voice about her and find out more information. She put her detective hat back on and she's like just trying to gather intel on this. But Noel's in some pretty clear denial. She keeps trying to figure out, does he think it means something? He says it means nothing. She's not so sure.
No, because she says, like, how long was the kiss? And he demonstrates midair. Great job, Noel. And she was like, that was a long kiss. And he says, no, it was shorter than that. And he keeps saying, I won't see her again.
Yeah.
And she keeps asking questions. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, I'm not going to see her again.
The first thing she puts out there, I think, is such wishful thinking for her. She's like, well, what if you're feeling conflicted and that kiss was just about squashing it? It was like, well, you're halfway there, Felicity, but you're missing a really important half in this scenario.
Yeah. He is conflicted. That part is correct. But this is the shift, right? He starts with that girl, then, they have this weird thing at the bar. And now all of a sudden it's, are you conflicted? And he's denying, he's saying he won't see her again. And the next time we see him, he's walking to her apartment.
By the way, so he puts the tape in the envelope and writes her name on it. And I just want to point out, her name is spelled Hanna, but
second H.
So much of the Felicity community puts another H on it, but he wrote Hanna with no H at the end.
He just hadn't finished writing it.
Seemed like he had finished writing it.
I don't know.
Why skip the second H? I was specifically looking for this because I feel like people, even like on IMDb and some of these other
Yeah.
sources, it's written as Hannah with a second H, but he wrote Hannah with one H. So I don't know. I was wondering about that myself. I knew he was going to write her name in this episode, and I was like, "What's he going to write?" And I was looking for it. So, dear Felicity community, I guess it's Hannah with one H.
Or
Just so
had
we
he
all
not
know,
finished writing? I mean,
I'm
because I
pretty
did
sure he
kind of
had.
notice that his other hand was over it, and
Oh, you're really fishing.
I don't know. I think we might need to go back and watch that again. But you were watching it carefully, so
These are
I
the
wasn't watching it
details
that
that we're
carefully.
here to scrutinize for you, listeners. In case you were wondering about the
Purple
big,
shirts and one or two H's.
yeah, the great non-existing Hannah or Hannah debate. The one nobody's having except for me. I thought I'd bring that one to the table and let you all
Yep.
know why I'm here. Yeah, but he
Yeah.
brings this tape to her, and then we see, the aftermath of that with the conversation with Felicity. And he's like, "Oh, we just talked." And Felicity's like, don't underestimate talking.
Yeah. So, well, but what does she walk in on, right? She walks in on him listening to Hannah's tape that he
Mm-hmm.
said he was going to take back
Mm-hmm.
or send back, and looking at old pictures of Hannah. And I just love this moment that he just says, you know, you know what? Like there was no context for that. What? What do we know? um, and I would like to give an award here
Oh.
for Felicity being particularly wise for
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you just said. She says, hey, I wouldn't have assumed something happened, and don't underestimate talking.
Yeah, I really like
That
that
was
line.
a fantastic line, and she knows because that's how she, you know, starts to like some guys.
And
But
she's gotten a lot done with talking herself. It's she talks her way into so many situations. So talking is important to her. She talks in her tapes with Sally. Talking means something to Felicity. And for him just to think he's just hiding. He's just hiding in this conversation, and she's not letting him. She's really asking it. Now, granted, he's not going to have the answers that she wants in the amount of time that she wants them, practically speaking. But she's still going to put his feet to the fire here. And she's going to ask these questions. Do you still
yeah,
love her? Does
she,
this matter? It's like she's not letting him up off the mat.
yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like this was out of character for her, that she is so observant in this episode, and she is also self-aware with like the spying piece. But I mean, she goes down to the point of saying, um, like, you're using my name. You never use my name when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking to each other. And I'm sorry. And now I've said I'm sorry about you going to see your girlfriend
I'm
or
glad
your
that she
ex
said that.
girlfriend.
I
Yeah.
was cheering her on when she said, "But wait a minute, now I just apologize for
Yeah.
your actions." I liked I thought that was a really strong writing choice because it's like she actually shouldn't be apologizing for anything here. Like she can choose her words differently, but she has nothing to actually feel sorry about in this situation. So for her to even for a second be like, "I apologize." No, no, I don't. Like, hold on. I revised my earlier statement. That was a mistake. I
And
was
it's
glad for that.
something, I think it's something that we as women do. It,
Yeah.
it's very common, even in work meetings. If I want to say something contrary to what the other person has said, especially earlier in my career, I'd start with, like, I'm sorry, or I might be wrong. And then I'd say something, and it completely undercut everything that I said. So
Yeah.
I learned to edit that out. Um, and Noel he's confused, but he's being honest about it. He's feeling guilty, which is why I think he says, don't make me feel guilty, because he does
Hmm.
feel guilty.
Hmm.
It's a bad situation for all of them to be in,
Yeah.
but I'm having a very hard time blaming anyone. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just what happened.
Yeah.
And I think they're all dealing with it fairly well.
I would
I
agree with
mean,
that.
Felicity in particular.
I would agree with that. I think, people may look at Noel like you're doing bad things, but it's like, what if his love story is actually with Hanna? There is absolutely room for his love story to be with Hanna here. And
Well, I mean, we don't know where Felicity's love story is, right?
some of us may feel it's in it with a different man.
So,
Some of
I
us may have
mean,
gotten a hint to that in this very episode.
yeah.
So it's like, I mean, do I love what Noel's doing? No. But should you just stay with somebody for the sake of staying with them if somebody else is the person you're meant to be with? I don't think that either. So if he's not sure and he's got this woman who he has all this history with, and I just he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
And we have to remember how young they actually are, right? Those are
Yeah.
19 and 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And for
you could
Felicity,
say,
this stings really hard because this is her first boyfriend, and he kind of billed this as you're going to be my priority. And she's kind of been dealing with Hanna the whole time in a way, maybe not for the 1 month where they were actually dating, or 2 months or whatever this was, but Hanna's been a figure that's been sort of looming over this whole situation since their very first maybe date. And
well,
here they are.
and I mean, Noel did pursue her like hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's, and he's the guy who sort of helped her get over Ben-ish, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's being very clear, exactly what you said before. Do you still love Hanna? Like, are you still in love with her? And Noel says no. And I think he thinks that at that moment in time. I think what he's coming down on, he sees Felicity in front of him and he says no. And he just continues to become more and more confused.
He says no, but it was lacking conviction. It was a no that was absent of the sureness that I think Felicity wished she would have heard. And she sees it. You can see on Carrie Russell's face that she's clocking it. And so, he's trying to reassure her, but she comes away feeling far less reassured than she would have if you just looked at the words themselves. And I think that's the acting, because the script only gives you so many words to play with. So they layered all this meaning into it. And Felicity is concerned, is right to be so, and I think is accidentally landing on the right language to figure out what's happened. She's landing on mature language, perhaps not on purpose, but it's happening anyway. And I think it's really moving the situation forward at a speed that perhaps sometimes it doesn't unfold this quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, these
But
things do go very quickly.
yeah, I mean, and I think part of the way that we get there, because you were saying something about like the maturity, or how Felicity's being wise in these moments, and I think part of what's getting her there is depression. Like, I think that she's feeling sad, she's feeling maybe as far as depressed, and she's moving and thinking slower. Like there's more, she's putting more thought into what's happening in front of her, and she really seems to be trying to understand what's happening with Noel. And the only way for her to get that information is to find out from him, like to ask him questions and to look for his answers. So I think it's put her into more of a defense position here, of being like, what am I dealing with? And so she has to be listening in this scenario if she wants that information.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put her into the depressive camp. I think she was, at least the first time I noticed it, she seemed very sad during the open mic when she sees how Julie and Ben are looking at each other and she leaves. I think that, but that moment happens after she's had the confrontation with Noel. At
There's a
this
moment
point,
before that, though, when Ben talks to her and Dean and Toluca. And what we see first is Felicity slowly, sadly, having just cried, moving cookies, transferring cookies with tongs from one plate to another. And Ben walks up to her and sees immediately that something's wrong and has a conversation with her that I'd like to unpack in greater detail a bit later.
yeah.
But the motion, the slowness of moving and the having just cried of it all, I thought, okay, this is really hitting her hard. She knows what situation she's in.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think between the scene of Noel saying no, he doesn't still love Hannah, and the very next scene that we see them in, where Noel and Hannah are coming out of a room together,
Mm-hmm.
that is where Felicity figures out kind of where she is. And I
And I
think
think part of it, she's primed for that because of how protective Elena was being. She
yeah,
is
she's
set
running
up for this
interference.
situation knowing whatever's happening is really, really bad stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I absolutely love Elena in this moment. She just was like, I just don't want you to have this initial shock. like, like what can I do to be a friend here and make this situation easier? And she just doesn't want to have Felicity have that memory of watching Hannah and Noel walk out of the dorm together, possibly arm in arm. Whatever Elena saw of them walking into the room, her radar was up big time. And so Felicity now is primed that like whatever just happened, like Elena didn't want me to see this. So, she sees Noel and Hannah together and she's like, can we have a little talk? I like that she's just like, I'm going to disrupt this moment that you're having to get to the bottom of this before you leave.
And this is where I notice, so in the earlier scene, she's got her hair down. And in this scene, so you've got Elena running interference. Felicity has her hair up. So it almost looks like later when she cuts it.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah's got her glasses back on.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm seeing between these two is Hannah feels much more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
with where she's at walking out of that room.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think they're trying to make Felicity look maybe a little more dowdy or whatever they were trying to do with her.
Ooh, I don't
As
know.
Noel
I
was
thought she
having
looked
this.
beautiful with her hair up in that scene.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
I
it
think sometimes an
confused
updo
me.
with curly hair is more beautiful than it being down.
I don't know. I mean, that was just my impression of it
Yeah.
because that plus she did not have the purple on.
Mm-hmm.
I think she had something that was sort of washing her out instead. But they have this really heartbreaking kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was such a volleyball match of a conversation. It was like you totally understand where they're both coming from and that they cannot give each other what they need in this situation. And Noel is like, Hannah asked me to help her. And Felicity's like, you just stop it with that. I don't want to hear this. Like helping her, that's code. Here's the translation of the code. You can't use this expression anymore. Like this is not about helping Hannah. This is about you two resuming your relationship, period. And she is like, I'm not gonna play that game. That's not happening. And I like that she did that up front. Now Noel scrambles.
Well, he asks her. Well, no. So he says he's helping They has to help Hanna.
Mm-hmm.
And, Felicity says what you just said. But then I thought this was a little weird that Noel says, if you don't want me to help her, just say that. And Felicity says,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what to do.
I thought that was fair. Noel was trying to absolve himself of responsibility in this situation. If she made the decision for him, or like whatever Felicity said in that situation was wrong. So if she said, go figure it out, then Noel could wash his hands of having made this decision. If she said, don't you dare leave, stay with me, now that was something that Noel could potentially feel better about later. And so him trying to pass that decision on to her was, he needs to own this call. He can say, I'm confused, and that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt like hell. But if he says, you make the decision on who I'm meant to be with, that's an impossible task for her. And she absolutely refuses to take it on. So I like that she pushed back in that situation. I reacted in a similar way to how she did. And he goes a step further right after that, where it's like he already actually has made a decision, because he makes a mistake, maybe like this is just his brain was already wired. He says,
Yep.
I can't ask you to wait while I'm with Hanna. And then he pauses for a second and he changes his words to, making up my mind. Yep. Nope. That's not what you said.
Yep. Like we both kind of commented on that, where it's like, wait, did he say with? Is that the word he just used?
Mm-hmm. It's
that is
very revealing.
Very important. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the kind of thing that you can't just be like, oh, but he corrected it. No, he said the thing he meant first. And then he was like, I think I need to cover my tracks on this one. Like, oh, I meant to say, well, I'm thinking about the decision I want to make. No, you made it.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that he did. And I think she knows it at the moment when she says, I'm not going to tell you what to do, because the next thing she says is, thank God I didn't sleep with someone who's so uncertain about me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was Felicity just saying what she could to hurt him. And it was all she had.
I mean, I think she feels that way. I mean, I think she feels in part that they would have had a closer relationship had they slept together, but she wasn't ready for it. And I think that hurts her. Mm-hmm. And I think it is very much in her mind later when she's with Eli.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think she internalizes this a lot.
Yeah, I think that, there's been a specter of this woman in so much of their relationship so far. And that's, the relationship itself has been so short, and for her, sex means a lot. So, is she glad that she didn't give that part of herself to him? Is she sad that they haven't gotten to a solid place and sustained it for a certain amount of time? She's looking at the situation for what it really is, as it's in front of her.
And I mean, to Noel's credit, at this point, he's not lying about it. Mm-hmm. I do feel like, on the one hand, this comment with, I'm not going to tell you what to do, I fully see where you're coming from. And, I can come down on that side of it. But I also think it's kind of a catch-22, because you can also say, if you really love someone, you're going to fight for that. And we often see, that story told in a different way, which is, mm-hmm. Hannah's fighting for her man and Felicity's mm-hmm. not. Mm-hmm. And, I think you see that with, what Hanna looked like when they were having their Noel Hanna conversation and what Felicity looks like here. That Hanna is fighting for him.
Yeah.
And but I also see what you're saying, which is, I can tell you to stick around, but at least how I took it was she already knew he'd made up his mind.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter what she
There's
said.
a situation that Felicity will encounter in her junior year in season 3, which I won't explain it. Those who've seen the show know what I'm talking about. Where she is in a position to have a similar conversation with somebody as the position she's in right now. And she initially sort of says, I'll give you space, I'll give you time, similar to kind of the vibe that she has here-ish. But then she sits back and says, wait, I haven't said enough. And she goes to that person and she says, look, if you need time, yes, take it. But I love you and I want to be with you. And I liked that speech. It was obviously a longer speech, but I think that's about where I would put that line, even in this scenario. So if he's saying, make this decision, should I be with Hanna or not? I don't think that she should make this decision. I think it needs to be squarely on his shoulders. It's his decision to make. But I think she could have said, I can't make that decision for you. That's your decision, but I want to be with you. And I think she could have gone as far as that. It's up to her to decide where she sets that line in terms of how long she's willing to wait. Now, he just said he was planning to be with Hanna. So like it's more than him saying that he's confused. It's him saying I've made a choice. But I think if she felt that he was confused and still making the choice, I think she could have gone as far as that and decided how much of a boundary she sets in terms of like in what way am I willing to wait, or how far am I willing to let this go? Or, like she would need to know that. She hasn't had enough time with the situation to probably process that herself. And maybe her answer is, I'm willing to wait 0 minutes.
And it's her first boyfriend.
Yeah. And the fact that he's not really making her the complete priority, and she's not anymore the core of the universe for him. Yeah. I think that's a shock to the system, and she hasn't had very much time to process that.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree she could have said that, I'm not going to tell you what to do, or I can't tell you what to do. All I can tell you is how I feel.
Yeah.
But like in the order of the conversation, that comes before I think Noel really becoming honest, where after she says that, and after she says, thank God I didn't sleep with you, he says, look, I thought it was over with her, but now I don't know.
Yeah.
And then says, I can't ask you to wait while I'm with Hanna, and then apologizes.
Yeah.
And leaves. So.
And they haven't officially said the words break up, but boy, I mean.
No, I mean, he has said, I don't know if it's over with Hanna, and I'm sorry. I mean, to me, they're over.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I think that's a fair interpretation to take with you into the upcoming scenes.
He leaves to go have sex with Hanna. I mean, I don't know how much clearer. He says, I can't ask you to wait.
Yeah.
He's not asking for her to wait. So that means they're broken up.
Yeah. So there we have it. That's where fish comes down on this. Broken up.
And also I can just say at this moment in time, Ross and Rachel were definitely on a break.
Oh.
I'm clearly coming down on that side too.
Okay. I am not prepared to weigh in on that show, but I appreciate your very firm stance.
Yes.
We hear you loud and clear.
A break.
Well, Also, if we bookend this, because when we get into the real proper fugue of it all with the back and forth, and we look at the Noel Hanna moments, he's now in her apartment. They're hashing out the whole musical piece that she's working on. She's got a block. She doesn't know what to do. And he reminds her of a time when he solved a very similar musical problem for her. He came up with a great compositional piece of wisdom. And that was when she was trying to figure out how to end a piece. He said to her, go back to what you already had. And isn't that the truth, Noel? Goodness. He just summed up the whole episode in his piece of wisdom to her for her music. And she's like, oh, cool. I will go back to what I already had.
Yep.
I love that. I love that that's what you're saying here. Let's do what we did with Baby Teeth, the song. And let's go back to what we had before. That might be nice, she says.
Yeah, I mean, she's the one who really runs with that statement. She's like, oh, go back to the beginning. That would be nice. Mm-hmm. And it's like, do.
Like, yes, we as the audience, we see these very heavy-handed moments. Yes. We got it.
Now, I think it's a little hard to go through the fugue back and forth scenes without talking a little bit more about what's going on with Eli. Agreed. And Felicity.
Yes, I think this is the perfect time to circle back on that piece, because we are seeing Felicity Eli stuff that happens as we go. Now, for those who don't remember, we met Eli briefly in Todd Mulcahy part 2, I believe it was. She walks into the studio for the first time. She meets this guy, Eli, who's one of the students. He's like, hey, you should come back. You should use the supplies. And she does. So we've seen him. She's seen the work in progress of his painting that he's going to show her later in this episode. So we've got a little bit of a setup here. And he will return now that we've gotten past the love and marriage episode, which had absolutely nothing to do with anything. We are resuming where we left off at the end of Todd Mulcahy part 2.
Yeah.
And I feel all is right with the world.
So I only wrote down, I think, 2 words about Elena for this entire episode. But they were for this first moment where Felicity and Elena are sitting down and Eli walks in. And I wrote down, hi, pony! Exclamation point.
That's your notes. Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
I've got more than that.
But I'm just saying, Elena was rocking the high pony.
Yeah, that she was.
That was amazing.
She rocks the high pony. Yeah. And she did in this scene. That was great.
It was wonderful.
The conversation starts with her talking to Felicity in the cafeteria about she's they're handing in an assignment, and probably from McGrath, and Elena's like, oh, we have to hand that in. And Felicity's like, well, I kind of feel like I need to go to Epstein Bar and babysit the situation with Hanna and Noel that I'm not loving right now. And Elena gives her that, like, yeah, keep your eye on your man. I will hand in the assignment for you. Shades of, good thing Elena's not going to do the old unintentional rewrite thing. But so that's the conversation they're having when they spot Eli across the room. And Elena is immediately like, who is that man? And why is he looking at you? He's coming. Oh my God, he's coming over here. I want to be introduced. My name is Elena. Like, in case you forget, don't get tongue-tied. Remember who I am. And Eli comes over and sits down.
Yeah, I really like Simon Rex. I think he is very amazing and beautiful, and I love his eyes, and he's fantastic, and I love him in this. And so the things that I noticed about this scene apparently were Elena's high ponytail, and then the fact that she does ask Felicity to introduce her. And Eli sits down, and Felicity does say, like, hey, this is Elena, but he is really only interested in Felicity. He's got eyes for her. He's talking to her. He doesn't care who this girl is. Um, and, I actually felt like it was kind of selfish of Elena to say, hey, introduce me, when this guy is someone that Felicity knows and he's coming over to talk to her. And the reason that I thought that is because in that moment, I completely forgot she was dating Noel. Completely forgot that was a thing. And I was like, you got two single girls sitting down. What do you mean introduce you?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Even though they were talking about the relationship, did not register at all.
I think that what you're landing on is the general vibe I have from what I have seen of people who are fans of Felicity. There aren't a lot of people who hate Eli.
He's hard to hate.
He's really hard to hate. I don't know if I've actually found anybody yet where it's like, if you look at like, what do I say without spoiling all things? But like when you look at like people who are, I guess, a villain presence in the show Felicity, I have yet to see somebody who's willing to put Eli there. They're like, but if only we would have had more time with Eli. Like that is the general vibe that I have from people. Cause it's like, yeah, it caused some mayhem and it's going to be an issue. And boy, is it going to throw a wrench in some major relationships. But damn.
Right. And I looked him up on IMDb and unfortunately saw that he was only in 4 episodes. So we have now fully seen half of his time in Felicity, which I'm very upset about because I love him.
The mark he will leave on this show far outlasts the 4 episodes he will be in. But it is, I just feel like there are an awful lot of people out there who are like, yeah, Eli, that was a snack. It's it's like, not a lot of people are willing to be like, maybe I think also a lot of this will have to do with how the aftermath unfolds with Felicity and Noel and how we start to understand their relationship more by that aftermath.
Eli, I just assumed their relationship's over at that point. I mean, they're friends.
Well, they're both going to continue to be on the show for quite some time, so there has to be some aftermath here.
Romantic relationship. I mean, they're broken up. That's over. It was very short.
Yeah. Well, things are a little messy right now. Because you have to remember, Noel stopped with Hanna.
Yeah.
So we have this feud.
Going to do it.
Was going to do it.
Kissing her and
decides to stop. And I'm not saying that to excuse him. I'm saying that because it's very important knowing that he decided to stop for a reason. So
because he apparently likes Felicity. I mean, duh. But
he is still confused, right? He thought he picked Hanna, and here he is, and he's stopping with Hanna. So it's like, well,
still confused.
Like you're making big swings.
I mean,
like your actions impact other humans. And you could say the same thing about Eli. Eli came, Eli saw, Eli took what he wanted. He was damn romantic.
Boy, those sketches. Not just take. He did. I mean, he came over. He asked about the. He was like, you left some of your sketches. I put them in the drawer. And he's kind of, he's feeling her out. He's letting her know he's interested. He's like,
he is. He's being gentle and romantic. And boy, that sketches foreplay is strong.
I mean, he is connecting to her through art. And he is, so when she comes up to get the sketches, he's very gentle. He comes through the mist and the steam of the...
Actually, can we just go back for a second before the mist and the steam and the otherworldly presence of the studio? I do want to say, just wrapping up at the cafeteria when we first see him, I love the camera choices. when we get to the end of their conversation. It really sort of set me up for what was going to happen at the end with the back and forth between the two couples. The camera work at the end of the conversation, they get to a point where there are these short clipped sentences going back and forth between Eli and Felicity. And the camera just keeps going dead on to each one, like close-ups on their face for their clipped sentences. And it feels very abrupt. And they feel like it's amazing to me, the amount of sizzle that came off of that when you never actually saw them at that point in the conversation in the camera together. It was just like, better, pick those. Maybe I will. Okay. Oh, I will. Like, it was like, oh, I'll pick up those sketches. It was just like the heat that was coming off of them because of this. We're going to quickly get the camera into each of their faces. We're going to keep alternating, and it's going to be the closest possible shot. I felt like I was maybe the reason that was so effective for me is that I felt like they were that close to each other's face looking at each other. It almost felt like a point of view shot.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that too, especially knowing that Elena was there.
Yes.
I mean, that's the part that, like, he sits down and there is no one else in the world other than Felicity.
Yeah.
He is talking to her. No one else exists. And
when that conversation is done, Elena says what we're all thinking. She says, damn, you better go pick up those sketches.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not like she's on the side of, like, damn, you better go, like, take a cold shower, you have a boyfriend. I mean, let's just put it out there.
She's like, what was that energy?
Yeah. So I'm just saying, for those who want to vilify the whole, Noel and Hanna thing, it wasn't like Eli wasn't coming on strong and Felicity was like Elena did not cock block. Felicity did not turn around and just leave.
Felicity was picking up what he was putting down.
Yes.
And
it didn't help that all this stuff with Noel and Hanna was happening by the time she went to get her sketches.
Yeah. So of course she does go pick up her sketches. And now we resume where you were, with the atmosphere.
Yes. So Eli walks out of the steam and mist over toward Felicity, who doesn't see him approach from behind as she's shuffling slowly through the drawer. And we get that shot of him looking over her shoulder. And he's handing her sketches. He's talking to her about how good her art is. She thinks that she's talking about his art. And he's complimenting basically himself by her saying that his piece shows that his grandfather was, I think, unbreakable. Was that the word
she used? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he says, no, what I mean is your pieces are fantastic. And he has gone through them. He is encouraging her to continue. And we get this shot of his eyes. I mean, it's just really hard to not just fall into these gray-green eyes in the mist that come out.
You're really painting a picture. This is poetic.
It's wonderful. And the music is swelling. I mean, everything is working for this scene.
I also want to stop down for 1 second on this idea that he looked at her sketches and she was okay with it, because there will be a thing that comes up fairly far ahead where somebody hears one of her tapes to Sally and she feels really protective and threatened and upset that there was an invasion of privacy like that. In this situation, I don't know how personal she felt those sketches were. She was sketching at a time when she was dealing with what happened to Todd and sort of the existential crisis of it all. So I was interested to see that Eli says to her, I've looked at your sketches. And he's like, is that okay? And she feels like it is. And that stuck
Well,
out to me.
she left them all over the room and
Yeah.
he picked them up and put them in his drawer. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be a little hard to not look at them since she just
Yeah.
kind
But
of
then to
left
say,
them.
like, I'd love to talk with you about them sometime. And she didn't, she's got a boyfriend or an ex-boyfriend or whatever is about to happen with Noel. It's confusing and it's weird at this point in this conversation. But she doesn't really shut down. She
She does
wants
not
to,
shut it down.
but
She does
she
not shut it
says,
down.
yeah, she's awkward. She's like awkwardly not shutting it down, but sort of trying to shut it down because she's thinking about Noel. It's comes across as she's into it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
But he's being very encouraging. And I think, given her inexperience with guys and, the way she can just put a brown sweater on and apparently it turns her unattractive,
Mm-hmm.
that she feels she can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved how earlier when the fugue music starts, it's I, I didn't get that it was the fugue when it all started,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Noel, and I wrote down weird music, classical jazz piano question mark, and the fugue keeps going, and what the music that is played during this scene with Eli and Felicity is very nice. And then immediately it cuts to this scene of Noel looking at pictures of Hannah, listening to the music, and it's this like frenetic weirdness
Mm-hmm.
with that moment in the music. And then that's when they start having all these, rough conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
uh, it was nice to see that kind of mirrored in the music.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also, I think there was an important moment that happens as Felicity's walking out of that studio when she picks up her sketches. She looks back.
Yep, a couple times.
It was very notable.
Yep,
And Eli picks up the signals. They were hard to miss.
yep, yeah. And I, so, we'll get to this part where Eli comes by, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the sort of really stark, sort of cutting scenes back and forth start.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming by.
In the middle
Felicity's
of
just
Felicity not being able to leave a tape for Sally.
right.
She tries to start. She can't think of a thing she wants to say. And then the
Well,
knock
he
happens on
doesn't
the
give her
door.
much time, but yeah, she doesn't start it, and it's raining. It's
Mm-hmm.
raining everywhere, and the
Mm-hmm.
rain is really like you can hear it, you can see it. Eli comes by. Felicity's hair is down, and she is wearing again a purple shirt, not the same sweater from before, but a new purple shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I want to share my sketches. Do you want to come to the studio?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought he was going to stick around in the room. But at this point, I mean, Felicity and Noel are no more.
Mm-hmm.
So she is a free woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, she's like, you know what? Yeah, yeah, I'd like to go to the studio. Let's go do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just absolutely love these scenes between the
Mm-hmm.
two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he is being Don Juan here, right?
Yeah. He's so smooth. He's the
Yes,
smoothest. He's
he is
name a thing
everything.
that's smooth. He's smoother. Oh,
Sea glass.
Eli.
He is smoother than sea glass. And so he's got these sketches he wants to share. Once he's got her up there in this, alone, except for this one other weird person who won't get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Um, And people
Except
sketching.
Felicity's like clinging to that person being there.
Yeah.
She's so nervous at first. She goes, Eli has to sit through the whole, like, was the model dead story.
Yeah.
There's a model. She was so good. She was so still. I thought she was dead. Was she dead? No, she was just a really good model. Like, what is this story?
Well, but before they even get to that, she didn't know they were sketches of her,
Yes.
right? And
She
so
was
this
duly
sort of
impressed.
bringing her up, saying that they're sketches of her, and then just this perfect line of, "Will you sit for me?" I
Mm-hmm.
mean, come on.
And when he shows her the first sketch, he's protected it with a piece of tissue paper.
Yes.
He has to peel the tissue paper off to reveal the sketch of her.
And, you know, we don't get to see the sketches. Like, I wish they had let us see them,
Well, we
really,
saw
because
one. We saw the one that he was working on.
it's
It was
hard to
very,
see
very
it.
light. It was hard to make out.
So I couldn't really see it, but I kind of wanted to see like what he did, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess we don't get that. But he's like, "Will you sit for me?" And then seats her on this red velvet love
Oh.
seat. I mean, really?
And he's
Really,
just ever
Eli?
so gently positioning her hair. She's like, is this
Uh-huh.
right what I'm doing? He's like, let me put you into position here. Let me move this hair out of your face while you're sitting on the red. So, oh,
Yes.
come
And
on.
and then they
This is
start
why
going back
nobody's
and
like, I hate Eli.
right. I mean, how? How? So he's asked her to sit for him, and then we get this quick flash over to Hanna, who is playing the fugue
Mhm.
on this just like broken, oh my God, just disgusting yellowed uh, piano.
Mhm.
And it's like, I don't know, they're in La Boheme. I mean, they're in
Mhm.
this like really crappy room. Anyway, that's sort of how I felt when we were just looking at her. Her hair is uptight. She's got her glasses on, and she's trying, she's trying to figure it out. And it's this kind of the normal life that she was hoping to have,
Mhm.
and getting advice from Noel, and he's giving her advice, and you know, and then they flip back again, and you've got this very calm sort of like Eli is so calm during this whole thing. He just has this presence that stays calm and a bit mysterious, while Felicity can't sit still. She can't stop talking. She doesn't know what to do with her arms or her knees or her legs or her hand. Like, so, so he's got to come over and position her. And they're just flipping back and forth between these scenes, which get progressively more and more intimate.
Mhm.
This is when Noel starts to sort of brush the hair down from Hanna and kiss her on the forehead, or kiss her on the top of her head. And they're going back to their sort of more practiced intimacy
Mhm.
as, and the two scenes, they both, first Felicity calls Noel, but he's in
Mhm.
the middle of kissing Hanna.
Yeah, she gets his machine and she knows he's not back. So
Yep,
he's probably still with Hanna. And that kind of gives her the green light to move forward.
exactly.
I,
And
I would uh, d- dispute the word aggressively intimate because I actually think both of these scenes are about as gentle as
I said
they could be.
practiced intimacy.
Okay.
So on the
Yeah.
one side, I think there's a practice intimacy between the two, Hanna and Noel, because they
Mhm.
know each other.
Yeah. But I think
Whereas,
even with Hanna and Noel, I thought that their scenes were actually pretty gentle. I think it was the
yeah,
fact that the camera was so very, it was shifting so much between the two scenes. Even the shifting though, a lot of times it was like rolling into the next scene instead of just abruptly getting there. So I think that the music was building and they were having shorter scenes, as it went, but there was still a gentleness to both of the pairs.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I don't think, either of them were coming off as aggressive. But what I really liked about, Eli and Felicity are kissing, and we have to go back to, even though, we don't really want to think about it, but a bit of the Zach narrative where we were talking about what people did in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
and the idea of consent
Mm-hmm.
being like this huge extra step
Mm-hmm.
that a guy would take.
Mm-hmm.
And Eli takes it. It's like he understands where she is,
Mm-hmm.
and he is asking, are you okay? Do you want to stop? Like, he is checking in with her.
And he's doing it both with the actual words, but also with looks earlier as they start to hook up. He's really seeing her. And I think him really seeing her in such a calm way calms her down. So when he goes in and sort of does that very slow, cautious lean in for the first kiss, she's game. And she meets him where he is. And he doesn't let himself get too far out in front of her. Like they're together in this moment. He's asking her if she's still okay, and she is. So,
yep.
I
mean, this is the big difference, right? Is that, they're both having these intimate hot scenes. They just are. Noel and Hanna have gotten further in their scene, and Noel does stop. And Eli asks, do you want to stop? And Felicity does not want him to stop.
She shakes her head no, and they keep kissing, and they will do more.
Oh, and we get to see it. I was kind of assuming we'd get next day, but
no, we will get next day. But Felicity is no longer she's losing her virginity as soon as this episode fades to rain.
Yes. I assume that, but we don't get to see like flashback moments or whatever.
No.
Darn.
We don't.
Anyway.
This is as much as you're going to see of the action itself. When Simon Rex comes back, it's going to be aftermath stuff. It's not going to be flashbacks of this.
Well, this was still pretty good. I'm going to say, I quit smoking 3 weeks ago, and damn, I was sorry. Because after that scene, I could have used one.
I guess what a major milestone for Felicity. What a perfect way to achieve it. I guess if you're going to sit there and say, okay, we've been talking Ben versus Noel, and here's this other guy, right? And he makes an impact in such a short time, but he really, when you think about the time that he meets her, she's, again, Todd Mulcahy came in, threw her life into total disarray, asked her, questions that made her ask herself questions, and reintroduced her to the world of the studio, which we have always seen as this magical, mystical, hazy place of dreams. And here's this guy, he's the man in this world. And he couldn't be more suave and gentle if he tried. And it comes off, and I think this might be because of Simon Rex, it comes off as genuine. Like, it doesn't come off as, guy, like this. She's probably like the 18th woman who's done the, let me show you my sketches of this week. And I don't get that vibe from him. I get that she made an impression on him, that he's been thinking about her, and that this means something to him. And I don't know what, we don't know that much about him, but I don't feel like she's just one of the girls he parades into the studio, and the person who locks up was like, Eli with another girl. Like, it does not feel that way to me. So I feel like Felicity could have done a lot worse for her first time.
Yeah. This scene could have easily been really sleazy.
Yes.
And I think it was a combination of both of them, how it was set up, the atmosphere, just really everything. I think it took a lot to make it not sleazy, because
Yeah,
normally this would be a very sleazy moment.
it really would. And I'm
And
glad it
it
didn't read that way
does.
for you either, because
Yeah.
it's just like, I don't know, there's
But
still
it
an
does
innocence
come off.
about it.
Yeah, it does come off as extremely genuine, in the moment connection around art. And, they don't know each other particularly well, but there's something and they're following it.
Mhm.
And so, it's not the traditional path. um, but most people today, as you say, like, could have been a lot worse.
Really could have been.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been Todd Mulcahy. I'm just
Wow.
saying. You want to know how bad it could have been.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
those are the back and forths that we get, and we leave when we leave this two melodies again, if as we're setting up for what's to come. They had a path that took them to a similar place, and they made two totally different decisions. Noel said, let's not do this anymore, Hanna. She's like, you could just sleep here, we don't have to do anything. He's like, nope, I can't even do that. He's made a new decision in this moment, and he made that for whatever reason he made it for. And Felicity made the opposite choice, where she was given an opportunity on a silver platter to stop, and she said, no, I'm going to have sex with the rain pouring down outside. Like, that is
In
what's
the
happening
sleepy
here.
room with the dreamy man with the eyes that you fall into. Yeah, you know what? She made the right call on that one.
Oh my
Sorry.
goodness. I mean, what a decision that would have been to stop. But
But I
yeah,
don't. I just assumed, and maybe this is wrong, but I just assumed that Noel had made up his mind that he was now in love with Felicity, and like that was going to be that. And then when you said he's still confused, I was just like, ugh,
well,
this
I mean,
guy.
he 5 minutes ago he made a decision he was going to be with Hanna, and like now he's stopping with Hanna, presumably because he's decided he wants to be with Felicity. But how much can we trust where Noel is with all of this? This man spent a whole episode in confusion, and he's making really, it's like a pendulum swinging. He's just getting all the way from one extreme to the other here, and it's messy. He hasn't been doing this in a vacuum at all. So this just happens to be where we ended this episode to set us up for whatever's coming ahead. But I do want to circle back on the Ben and Julie stuff, because I want to be able to fold Ben back into this with that one conversation he had with Felicity.
Yes. So when we meet them, um, Julie is playing a song, and Sean says it is sad and pretty, which I agree with. I think it's a
Mm-hmm,
great song.
mm-hmm,
And Ben is storming the apartment with his new swim friends,
mm-hmm.
and Lynn is there, um, and he is being annoying. I mean, he's
Just total disruption, right? You go from this atmosphere of like sad, pretty slow songs, a quiet moment from Sean and Julie, and then just like the guys come in, Lynn rips the guitar out of her hands, starts tuning it. It's like, get out of my house, get out of my apartment,
yeah. I
leave
mean,
my guitar alone.
he's
Ugh.
very dismissive of her. He asks her, is this a Martin guitar? And then when she says no, he's like, are you sure? She's like, I know what my own guitar is. And
Mm-hmm.
then he messes with her tuning, and she's like, it's my special tuning. It let go of my guitar. And she's just like, I'm out. I
Yeah,
am
she's
out of here.
so annoyed. And Ben sees it, and he goes to Sean. He's
Oh,
like, is it okay that these guys are here? And it just kind of tells you where they are in their relationship right now. It's like, there's a priority here. It is not Julie.
Yeah, and I mean, in all fairness, Ben has just gotten his guy friends back. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like, and Julie even says this, they're having dinner and Ben's there and I don't know, losing money on darts or something, and
Hmm.
she comes over and says, "Why don't you come back?" And he's like, "In a minute," because he's out with his guy friends,
Yeah.
and
And I think all of this is important, right? So he's got a purpose. He's swimming. He knows his thing. He's got his people. He's got these guys. He's making friends. He's kind of getting back on top of his game. However, he's also at the bottom of his game with like there's a thread that they've been starting to pull here with, some episodes ago, we saw that his dad cut him off and now he had to get a job at Dean and DeLuca. And here he is betting on darts and he's losing. So this is a thread they continue to pull subtly behind the scenes. But at the same time, they're putting a bit of distance between Ben and Julie in their relationship. And they're partly doing that through his swimming and his swimming buddies.
yeah, I was wondering if part of what Julie was trying to say when she was like, "Why don't you come back over?" was like, stop losing money. So I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it sounds like he's gonna have a gambling problem, so that's fun.
But certainly
Um,
having a money problem already,
yeah,
so and it is going to continue. He's going to have more to deal with. I mean, Dean and DeLuca can't be making up the how much money could he be making at Dean and DeLuca when his dad cut him off completely.
yeah,
So
he's having to look into loans and stuff, I assume.
he's actively having to think about this stuff. But I do like that they didn't just go from Ben has money to Ben has no money. Like they're making it part of a story. They're letting it be a presence for a little while. And he is continuing to try to find new avenues.
Yep. Um, Now, Julie does kind of call Ben out,
Mm-hmm.
um, sort of. I mean, she says, I don't think that the swim guys like me, and Ben is saying like, "You're nuts," right? Like he's dismissing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love that Sean is sitting there just like completely supporting and repeating whatever Julie says. She's
Yeah,
like,
you
"They
weren't
don't
doing
like
that.
me," and then Sean's like, "Yeah, they don't like you."
It's like, thanks, Sean. I do want to point out the line read towards the start of this fight where Ben and Julia have obviously been having a somewhat heated conversation about his swim friends. And you just hear Ben go, well, obviously it's not fine, especially when you say it's fine.
Yeah.
I loved the line read. It was so Ben. And it's exactly how Julie would have been. And I
Yeah.
thought that was very appropriate to get us into this argument where Sean just keeps being a Budinsky.
Well, I mean, he's supporting Julie, and in all fairness, he's supporting himself too because he's saying, you know, neither of you are paying me rent. So,
Well, let's have a moment of
you can
reality
tell me,
here.
yeah, you can tell me that my opinion doesn't matter, but like I'm the only one who actually is paying for this place.
Mm-hmm.
So, just saying.
Yeah. And her big thing
Um,
here is where she boils this down to is she's saying, like, I feel like just the girlfriend, that's like you and the guys and the girlfriend.
Right. And she's never felt that way with Ben before. But the reason she hasn't felt that way is because Ben didn't have any guy friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not realistic to expect that he is going to be like utterly devoted to her all the time. I mean, he has been because she's been going through a lot and because he has been in a situation where he hasn't had teammates.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and she's gotten used to that.
Yeah.
Um, but he can still be a good supportive boyfriend and have guy friends. And if she chooses to be around when the guys are around, then she is the girlfriend,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and if she doesn't want to be there, she doesn't have to be there, and she can have a discussion with him about like how much time they're spending together and such. But
I do think that
I
that's
don't
part of
really
what's
agree with
underpinning
her.
this, because I get the sense that this is happening a lot. So I think there's a frequency issue here. I think that Ben has not really been making time for Julie, and Julie is feeling neglected here. So
Well,
I do
yeah,
get that sense. I think that she maybe would be okay with it if there were some consistency around him showing up for her too.
I think what she says is, I'm not used to feeling like that with you. And he really has been devoting 100% of his time to her.
Yeah.
And so any kind of separation where she's not the priority is going to feel like she's not as much of a priority.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's clear from the episode how much time he's spending.
Yeah.
I think just knowing about varsity athletes, like if he's on a team, he's spending a lot of time away.
Yeah.
And he has his schoolwork and such to do as well. So, it probably is a lot, but I mean, he's on a team and she has her music. She has other stuff that's going on with her too. He does show up at the open mic. So I don't think it's clear from this that he's not showing up for her. I think, and I don't think that I don't think she's making too big a deal out of this. I mean, she's saying how she feels, and then, that's kind of it. And he shows up. So that's fine.
He does, although he also doesn't. So, she wanted him to be there a little earlier. She was really nervous before her set. He shows up right after her set has just started. And she had wanted him to be there to sort of, she's getting tuned. She's nervous. Lynn comes over and she's like, have you seen Ben? And so she wanted him to be there to help her deal with the pre jitters. And, you get the whole, and this is where you start to really feel for Lynn here in this situation, that he's just kind of a good guy. He helps her with her tuning, tries, he points out the guy who's currently on stage, Bernie Clavin, the howling bard of Cornelia Street. And he's like, how much worse can you be than this guy?
Yeah.
Just look at him and know that you can be confident for your set. So, we got Lynn is there. Lynn is the friend that Julie needs in that moment. Lynn gets her in tune. Lynn gets her feeling psyched up and confident. And then Lynn gets her on stage. Ben shows up as she's performing. Yes. They lock eyes. She sings a whole sad song directly to him. He's smiling at her. There's a moment there. He wasn't there for the whole part that she needed him to be there for.
Yeah. So we see that the open mic is hosted by Lynn. And so, he's going to be there the whole time.
Yeah.
I really got at that moment where he was trying to help Julie out, he really came off like he had ADHD. And I don't know if that's something that's going to continue or if that's what they meant. But I feel like he's going to get really annoying.
That tracks with what I know of him coming up. It seems like he's really smart and he's firing on more cylinders than the average person, and he's just kind of moving, his mind is moving rapidly. And I think that's where I get sort of he's a little eccentric and he's got his whole inner world, and he'll tell you what he's thinking, but it might be, you might have needed a few sentences to bridge from where he last left off. I can see how that would track as ADHD for you.
Yeah, and it was mainly in that scene, so I don't know how much more it comes out, but that's just really what it seemed like. But I feel like this happened a number of times throughout this episode where people were getting comfort from others that were not their partners. And I think this is one of those moments. So,
Yeah.
Lynn is the one who calms her down and gets her, as you said, like on stage. And I I love the song. I mean, she had that like 90s female
Hmm.
Sarah McLachlan, kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
So,
And that was Amy Jo Johnson singing that, she had some pieces that were, one of them ended up on the soundtrack. Not this one, I don't think, but yeah, I mean, her being a musician is absolutely part of her story in the show. And this is her first open mic night. So this is a major milestone moment for her. I guess there are a lot of milestones to be considered in this episode. And I wanted to circle
yeah,
back to what you were saying on people being comforted by people who are not their partners. And I would like to point out that the person that Ben was there for in that way was Felicity,
yes,
because he sees her at Dean and DeLuca. I guess he's finishing a shift and she's in the middle of hers and she is slowly, sadly transferring cookies from one plate to another. And he sees her. He starts to walk past her, then looks in her eyes, sees that she's been crying, pulls back into frame, and stops into that conversation. It feels like he really sees her in that moment. And it's like, yeah, I was leaving, but I can stay for a minute and have this chat.
absolutely. Yep. And, I felt like it was consistent with him being observant, um,
Hmm.
especially around her. But then she starts to talk about her relationship and that Hannah's back. And he just sort of says, guys are confused. I was like, that's not helpful. What, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
well, I think the main vibe I got from him in this conversation was that he was trying to be reassuring to her. Um, the thing that really impressed upon me was not that line, but the right after that when he said, because he was like, "Oh, I'm sure this will work out." And Felicity is like, "How could you be sure?" And he says, "Noel would never choose to be with somebody else when he could be with you." And that line read for me spoke in many different ways.
Yeah, that one definitely made an impression on me as well. Um, Clearly he was wrong, but
He got that one totally wrong. That was not
yep,
a good call from, well,
but
he's
he
betting
was,
wrong in these situations.
yes, but he was trying to comfort her. And I think, maybe he made her feel a little better, but
Well, we don't linger in this conversation.
no,
It's
we
a
don't.
fairly quick exchange. I think that's a
No.
very loaded thing for him to have said to her.
And the
Um,
next time we see her, Elena's running interference because Noel and Hannah are coming out of Noel's room.
mhm.
So,
But it made me wonder later when we do see Julie performing. Felicity walks in. Everybody just barely makes it to this performance. Felicity walks in as she's performing, and then Ben follows shortly after, sits in a different part of the room, doesn't see Felicity. And Felicity is watching Ben and Julie look at each other as she's performing. What do you think? What do you think she was thinking? What do you think was happening for her?
I feel like she's starting to relapse. It's like every time things aren't going well, all of a sudden Ben appears again.
Mm-hmm.
And she just keeps going back to it. And she looks at them and, you know, Ben and Julie have this like I'm so in love with you look going
Mm-hmm.
on.
Mm-hmm.
And Felicity sees this and she sees the way that they're both smiling at each other. And to me, it looked like she was leaving because she was about to start crying.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah, I
seemed
thought
like
so.
it made her really
Kind of
sad.
triggered her.
Yeah.
I thought so too. I think that the way Ben comforted her might have flared some things up, perhaps. But she's also very sad and very confused around all the stuff that's happening with Noel. she's really susceptible in this moment. And I think for Ben to have said, think about it, Noel would never choose to be with somebody else when he could be with you, and saying it in a way that sounds like, come on, you're amazing. Like it's he said it in a way that didn't sound just like, this is me assessing Noel. It was like, you're too awesome for, it's the kind of compliment she probably wished she would have had back in the day. And maybe it knocks her into a backslide of sorts. I don't know. But when I saw her looking at Ben, and Julie in that moment, I thought, this feels like there's more of a longing for her than just an observation.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that in the original conversation. I thought, at least the way Ben was saying it, and maybe it's not the way she took it, but the way that it sounded was like, it's Noel. Like, he is so head over heels for you. I mean, he has been head over heels for you. Like, he would never choose anyone else. And it wasn't so much about like she would be attractive to anyone. It was like, this guy's obsessed with you.
Yeah.
But maybe she took it a different way, because I absolutely agree with you that in the scene in the open mic, that sadness that she has certainly has everything with Noel mixed in, but the fact that it's Ben makes it worse.
Yeah, I think it hits on a different level. Well, and I mean, I'm switching gears just slightly, but we made an observation at the start of the episode that I think is worth pointing out. I mean, would Noel ever choose to be with somebody else aside from Hanna and Felicity? Well, Felicity knocks on his door early in the episode, and we saw a post-it that I've never noticed before. And we stopped down to read it, and it said, Noel, you make me wanna ... signed Rebecca Haas. Who?
What is this? Rebecca who?
I just was dumbfounded.
I mean, it could have been just a Spice Girls lyric.
Could have been.
We don't know.
Yeah, could have been, but it's just a little off from that, I think.
Maybe it was, he makes her want to like zig a zig zag.
Could have been like that, right?
Maybe.
Well,
if anyone knows who Rebecca is and why she is leaving such a suggestive note on Noel's door.
It's like, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. You make me want a ... No, can't get there even with the Spice Girls. Yeah. Look, who is this Rebecca Haas? She has some answering to do. And I don't know, does Felicity know what this is? Because she's knocking on the door and she's seeing the post-it, probably, or is she not noticing it? She's more worried about Hanna. So I guess it's not that much of an issue, but I've never noticed this before. The stuff that you see when you pause the frame.
Yep.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to point out too is we did just for a moment see a new manager at Dean and DeLuca. Well, we saw a couple moments. We saw Abby, who was leading the staff meeting. She's a rough one. She's got quirks.
Quirks?
Well, she's got the quirk of she can't look at Felicity while talking to her, which is...
Or won't.
Yeah, either one. Which was a feat of acting for the person who had to take that on. I should have looked up her name, but the direction she must have been given was like, you have a whole scene with Felicity and you can't look at her once. That would be hard. She pulled it off very well, so awkwardly. I don't know how you would really do that. A conversation to never look at the person.
Yeah, because I can understand if she had constantly been looking down at the clipboard or like over at something else, but she really wasn't doing anything else with her eyes other than not looking at Felicity.
She was looking everywhere except at Felicity. I love the part where she's being really condescending to Felicity, and she's chastising her for talking with her boyfriend. And she's like, well, we just need to be aware of these or conscious of these extended social moments. Do you know what that word is? And Felicity's like, which word? Conscious?
Conscious?
And she's like, it means aware. Aware. And her eyes are all over the room. It was, we don't get a lot of Abby, but I'll take this. This was kind of interesting. I don't know what her deal is.
I mean, I think she's just a bitch. I mean,
Probably.
It feels like she she doesn't want to deign to look at her.
Yeah, something like that. No deigning involved here.
No deigning.
She's going to be Daneless. We don't deign. Yeah. Hey, Fish, do we deign?
No.
That's so true. And Abby's following our lead. Yeah. Well, I thought to myself, notes from an optimist. What can I say that's optimistic in this episode? I thought, do I want to talk about the wonderful benefits of mirroring? I thought, no, that's too weird. I thought, do you want to talk about unbreakable, rugged grandfathers? Probably not. I don't know how
I'd listen to that.
Yeah. So I could do that. I could switch gears here. I decided, how about we talk about dropping truth bombs? It's an interesting technique.
Talk about that. I mean, I would be fine with just, talking more about Eli and his sexy eyes.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears here. Notes from an optimist, rugged grandfathers.
I like how easily you can just switch. She's you want me to be optimistic? Please
from
throw a word
background. Out. Yeah. Rugged grandfathers, go, improv background. I think that we're really seeing a sensitivity and a love of family in Eli. I love that there's been this strong, rugged presence in his life, and he seems to be making an ode to it. So my sense of this grandfather that we've never really been able to see, we kind of saw the through the easel, through the canvas, the silhouette of what he was working on an episode or two ago. But what a man this must have been. He had a sensitive, artistic grandson. He was this rugged, unbreakable longshoreman, and he had a soft place in his heart for this grandson, enough where, he wants to do this, memorialize him in a painting. And I thought, maybe this grandfather gave him a little bit of that essence to bring back to this new relationship he's forming with Felicity. So rugged grandfathers, may we all have one that says willing to be open to sensitive people and conversations. How was that?
That was lovely, especially since probably at our age, most people's grandfathers were some form of racist or bigoted or whatever.
Well, we don't know a ton about this grandfather, but since this is Notes from an Optimist, I choose only to look at the things we know and think of how this could be optimistic. Because I'll tell you, this wasn't an easy episode to pull optimism from.
And I like that you can, he focuses on family, and maybe there's something a little unbreakable about Eli, and it's his artistic soul and his being authentic to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Just like his longshore rugged grandfather, who I swear, I promise you, dude was racist AF.
Hey, this is Notes from an Optimist. Don't you well, you're the cynic though. It's fine. These
are my comments. This is my comment.
Yeah. Well, I guess, folks, you see how we got our name for this podcast, right? We're not making it hard to gather. Yeah. Look, I'm just talking out of my butt, but rugged grandfathers, okay? Enough
Yeah.
said.
I mean, now you've used rugged grandfather for your notes from an optimist. You can't use it as your rating system.
Dang it. Okay. Yeah. Well, I just switched it to that. So you caught me. I'm going to switch it back.
Haha.
See, here you might hear that I'm crossing out with my highlighter. And I'm rewriting what I had before. Don't try to mess with fish. Don't try to change things on the fly.
No.
We say, not even if you're a
What
longshoreman. Yeah. Well, so in this episode, we didn't get a tape from Sally. We also didn't get Felicity. Felicity was not able to record a tape for Sally in this episode. She tried, she pressed stop, she couldn't do it. And so we didn't get a tape back from Sally. I like that we end, when it, spoiler alert, when it comes to my ratings, I mean, in the past, I've not loved it when we messed with the device when the device is supposed to be there. But I also really love that we ended in the fade to rain sounds. So absolutely. I did not miss in this episode the Sally tape.
No, I mean, who wants a Sally tape when you can just like fade to black amongst the like Eli romance?
Yeah. No. Do you want to do our ratings now and then we can do listener feedback after?
Sure.
We're kind of already on the road to it.
I think you should go first because I want to hear what rating system you decided to use besides rugged grandfathers.
Well, okay. Because you have to remember, I wasn't going to talk about rugged grandfathers for Notes from an Optimist. I just made that up on the fly. So initially, I had contrapuntal voices as my unit of measurement. Seemed to make sense for where we were. And I went with 8.9 out of 10. I don't think it was a perfect episode. I love that they played with the structure. There are things about their previous structure that they chose not to do in order to allow for the fugue theme or the fugue structure to the episode. So on the one hand, like I said, it's different. They dropped their device. It was inconsistent in that way, but I also really like what we got in terms of what the new structure allowed us to do. I thought it was interesting and I thought it was artistic in itself. So I did like that. This is an episode that is nearly devoid of humor, which I don't need to have humor in every episode, but I think the really good episodes will have a balance to some degree of the two. This episode, we're coming off of Love and Marriage, which was so bizarre and so kind of out of left field and a lot more humor to it. So I think it makes sense that this one needed to have more of the drama behind it. They're setting up for a lot. And that's part of the reason why I was impressed with this episode and rated it so highly, because there's just so much in this episode that we will continue to pull on those threads as we go through not only this season, but future seasons. So yeah, 8.9 out of 10. Contrapuntal voices is where I landed.
All right. Now, you keep saying that we can do whatever we want.
I've been saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to do this, and good luck trying to figure out how to do average ratings. So I felt like there was a bit of a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
I think it ended with a bang, literally. So I am gonna put this like not rated by like quartiles or quintiles, but like a continuous rating from like the start to the end that runs from like a 6 up to a 9. And I would say that it is a curve that sort of starts out slow and then starts getting really high towards the end. Like almost could have gone to infinity, but it got cut off at the 9. So that is my rating.
So it's a curve from 6 to 9 escalating as it went.
Yes.
Darn you and the horse you rode in on.
And that those are all glubs. So I don't really know what that means. Maybe it's a continuous glub that started out smaller and got larger
Mm-hmm.
as we went. And then I ran out of breath, so it just ended at 9.
Okay. Okay. Well, reading off averages at the end of the season is going to be real interesting. But I appreciate you for your whole vibe.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. This episode, and I think that this is an episode that's interesting to rate because it was so differently structured than everything else that we've seen. I love that they played with that. And it's also, they had to pace it very differently in order to get us where they wanted to get us. So I appreciate your sliding scale curve of an escalation of a 6 to 9 glubs.
Yeah, I think I can probably come up with some sort of mathematical equation for what I'm looking for. It's not y equals x squared, because that would be, is that the upside down one? So maybe it's y equals square root of x or something like that. But look,
we're doing too much.
Figure it out. If you want an actual average, we can figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'll be fun. That'll be something we can all look forward to when I read off averages later this season. Who knows what that'll be like. But you know what I will read off now? We have our after you listen to this tape, you have to erase it segment. We've had some listener feedback. Actually, we had 2 things that I wanted to share. First, we heard from Colleen again because Colleen had done the bleep, marry, kill, but had left out kill. And Fish called her out. She was like, Colleen, we need more from you.
Yeah, Melissa, just what's the bleep?
You know what, Fish? We're trying to keep this clean, all right? Yeah. If you guys haven't heard
I've
of it,
I've already dropped an F-bomb and called someone a bitch this episode.
Well, that bitch is an okay word to use. They use that in TV even. But F-bomb is fair to say, right? So F-bomb, marry, kill.
Okay.
So Fish, you called her out. You're like, we need more from you, Colleen. And Colleen rose to the occasion. And she says, I kill either Greg or Avery.
I don't know who either of those people are.
Yeah, she says, can't wait till we get in the weeds of the aftermath of Ben and Felicity's first stab at a romantic relationship. All the different spoiler alerts, but that we've been saying that this is not a spoiler-free podcast, right? And we see that we're heading in these directions. So Greg and Avery have not come up yet. Greg will be a season 2 character. Avery will see her in season 3. And I've heard somebody wrote in and told us that actually, so Scott Speedman is currently on Grey's Anatomy. And apparently the actress who plays Avery has been reunited with Scott Speedman on Grey's Anatomy. I don't know anything about that show, so I don't know how major a storyline it is or how long either of them will be on the show, but it sounds like there's a reunion. Probably not a reunion a lot of us needed to see, but we'll see what happens. When we get to season 3, we talk about it. I guess Fish will better understand why Colleen put that in the kill category.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm guessing this means that Ben dated Avery. All right.
Ben was, I think dated is way too strong a word for what that was. I don't even, there's, rather than just spoil the entire plot line, it was not that clear cut to me.
So it was an F-bomb buddy.
It wasn't that either, I don't feel. It was like an emotionally confusing situation. And I would say the fan base probably has very different reactions to what they think of Ben in that scenario. But I give him a lot of leeway. So, but we'll see. I'm actually really interested to get to that and unpack it with you, Fish, when we get there. But regardless, Avery think it's fair to say Avery's a villain, but gets to be a villain in a way that is really ambiguous.
Well,
So
we'll just say she's no Eli.
she is no Eli.
No.
I don't think anybody in the Bleep, Marry, Kill trifecta would put Eli in the kill zone. Like, there are certain characters in this show where everybody's like, oh, but this person was too, kind of liked this person. Like there's a few people like that. There's an Owen that I'm thinking of later as well, who it's like, who doesn't like Owen or Eli? I don't know. But
yeah, well, we'll have to see how the other characters shape up.
yeah, we will have to see how that works. But I do want to read off the feedback that applies more to this episode. So we have not read anything from the Allison Atwater treatise on Ben in quite some time, but Allison's treatise also had some Noel stuff in it. And I've been trying to sort of like pick through the part. I've broken it up into different paragraphs, and I've isolated some of the stuff that is relevant to this episode and some recent episodes. So Allison says, Noel seems to fall hook, line, and sinker for Felicity at first sight, which would be more compelling for me if all those first flirtatious moments hadn't happened while he was still with Hanna. That's right. All the precious moments that hook the Noel fans are really just Noel emotionally cheating on Hanna with Felicity, but without even extending Felicity the courtesy of letting her know he's taken until their maybe date. That kills me. While Noel is sweet and endearing, and the finale episode is one of my favorites because he's so brilliant in it, and along with Richard, the smart powder scenes are hilarious, I by no means see him as the right person for Felicity. Where Noel really loses me is in the Fugue, when he blatantly and flagrantly steps out with Hanna while he's with Felicity and has no plans to give Felicity the courtesy of a heads up or a breakup. He just brings Hanna to the dorm, Felicity's home, for all their friends and neighbors to see. So foul. And Elena was so sweet for trying to prevent Felicity from having to witness that train wreck to no avail. So I'm going to pause it there. As I've said, Allison wrote a treatise. We love it. So there's more to say, but this is what felt relevant to today's episode. And I had to catch us up with a few things that she had brought in from other episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I still give Noel a little bit more credit because he is in an open relationship. Mm-hmm. We established that. Now, should he have told Felicity? Absolutely. But I don't think he is cheating on Hanna, given that they have this understanding between the two of them. And then, you know, I can't say. I mean, Felicity certainly does. She says, you know, you would have just walked out of here. But he doesn't confirm that. So we don't really know what he would have done.
Well, he was leaving.
Yeah,
he was
leaving,
and he wasn't exactly leaving a post-it on her door.
No, but we don't know that he would have gone back to Hanna's place and started to sleep with her. That I think, I think he clearly broke up with her in that conversation, and then went over and, you know, started kissing and what, like, we don't at any point see him kiss Hanna or initiate anything with her, even though he does some stupid stuff like walk her out to the car and go over to her place, but we don't see him romantically initiate anything with her until he has broken up with Felicity. So while I'm not a huge fan of the waffling around, I mean, that's annoying, I do give him credit for not cheating on either one of them. I
Yeah, I
mean,
guess it
the
depends on what you think of the
closest.
kiss. If you think like, did he pull away fast enough? Did he set himself up for a situation where that could have happened? So I don't know. If you really, really want to avoid that situation, it's not that hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, he shouldn't have
He,
walked out with her. He absolutely shouldn't have. Do I think he thought she was going to kiss him? No. I don't think he went out there thinking that was going to happen.
mhm,
And I do think he was surprised, but also that it did feel natural, which is part of the pull back towards her.
yeah,
So I think other than him not telling Felicity right away that he had an open relationship, um, generally speaking, especially for a guy his age with this very confusing, two girls situation, I think he does fairly well in just not being an all out dog. And I know
mhm.
that's a low bar, but I mean, ladies, come on.
I do think it's an important distinction because, like I said earlier, and I think the fact that they made overtures in this episode to tell us Hanna has been here for months, unbeknownst to Noel, that
Yeah.
she is surprising him with this visit. He was not aware, he was not seeing her, he never had coffee with her. He has been invested in this relationship with Felicity, and this is like out of the clear blue sky for him. Again, that really does shift things for me if they didn't write that in. So
Yeah.
for him, a lot of this is hitting him by surprise. All of this is. And that helps me see him as a guy who has a decision to make, who hasn't necessarily done anything wrong, but he has to make this decision. And his messiness could be hurting people. But I also give him some room to be human and make a choice. And depending on how much of a fan you are of Noel and Felicity or Ben and Felicity, you may come down in a different place on all this. I would love to hear from people who are Noel and Felicity. I would love to hear from everybody, but people who are Noel and Felicity fans, we haven't heard from a lot of people in that camp. So, if we need your thoughts right now because like we're heading into some murky stuff. We're in it. It just happened. So, if you love Felicity and Noel, you love them, including this. So, walk me through it. Walk us through it. Tell us what you think. And I invite anybody to share feedback of any nature, but especially that. So, you can reach us at themelissafish@gmail.com. That's Melissa with one L, two S's, themelissafish@gmail.com. We love Felicity fan art. We love your thoughts on the show, questions for us, rebuttals to things we've said, bleep, marry, kill picks, whatever works for you. Also, we have some really fun conversations that have been happening on Instagram. We're at Felicity Podcast. And for those of you who want to be informed when we drop a new episode, go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. You can find the link to that in the show notes, pretty much wherever you're listening for this. And that way you don't have to guess. We'll let you know when it's out. So yeah, that's all the notes that I had for today, Fish. Do you have other things that you wanted to talk about?
Nope. We have covered everything I wrote down.
I agree with that. I think this is easily our record for runtime. It's so funny when we first were talking about like how long we thought our podcast would be. We were like 45 minutes to an hour. How's that sound? Yeah, that sounds good. 45 minutes to an hour. My gosh, we've blown that out of the water. But we'll see what the runtime ends up being next time. We're going to talk about the episode Assassins. So that one's pretty fun, I remember. And we'll see what you end up thinking that one is about. You obviously had a very different impression of what the Fugue was going to be based on the title.
Yes. And yeah. I'm hoping that Assassins is about that game that we played as freshmen where we had to hold the spoon.
That is an excellent guess.
Because that's what it was when we were in college.
Mm-hmm. We never played that game in my freshman dorm, but wish we had. Well, that's what we have coming up, and you've guessed very well.
So it is about that game. Fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what's happening. It's going to be fun backdrop for all the stuff that just happened. So we will cover that one next time around. And I think that we've pretty much covered everything for this one. So until next time, fish, don't hook up with Ben while I'm gone.
I'm a fish.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.